Welcome to Retirement Ramblings. I'm Scott, and today is day 299 in my countdown to retirement. So today I was preparing for spring. So before I get into that, I'm going to do a quick review, as I do every Saturday, on my portfolio performance week over week. And so this week wasn't a positive one. I saw a decline of 1.25% week over week. But by contrast, the Dow was down 2.4% to 42,802. The S&P was down 3.1% to 18,196. The Nasdaq was down 3.5% to 18,196. The Russell 2000 was down 4.1% to 2075. The VIX went up by 19.1% to 2337. I think that was the highest for the year. I don't remember it being higher than that so far in 2025. WTI crude was down 3.9% to $67.04 a barrel. Gold was up 2.3% to 29.1410 an ounce. Natural gas was up 14.7% to $4.39.9. So if you're going to get propane or something like that, expect to pay quite a bit more than you did last month. And then the 10-year bond was down 0.2 basis points to 4.304. So it fell squarely in the range between the current 4-week and 8-week T-bills. And the 13-week T-bill, is still yielding 4.314, so that's pretty solid. The 26-week is yielding 4.282. So for those of us who think the Fed is going to delay for much longer than the market thinks, and keep rolling and laddering T-bills on like a 3 or 6 month time horizon, the yields are holding up pretty well at that part of the curve. So anyway, the problem for me though is that I've seen a decline of 2.49% since the peak, which for me was on Valentine's Day in 2025. And so when I back out all of the growth that we've had for the year, I'm sitting with a whopping 0.78% increase since January 1st in my portfolio, which quite honestly sucks. So, it's better than losing money, but, my 70-30 portfolio is holding up. It's just not doing near as good as it was, 3 weeks ago. But, that's life. Anyway, getting on to preparing for spring. So I checked the calendar, I checked the weather. It looks like I don't see anything that's frost related, moving forward, at least for the next couple weeks. So, and typically after March 15th here in Atlanta, I don't have to generally worry about it. Although we have had, situations where in April we've gotten snow, but I'm going to take my chances at the current time. And so I moved all of the plants that we had inside back out on our screened-in porch in the back, out on our covered patio on the side of our house. And then I cleaned and prepared. I have 2 raised garden beds at the far end of my courtyard that I use to grow herbs, usually in the front part of the first bed, and then I do, tomatoes, eggplant, peppers, things like that in the back part of the bed, primarily because my afternoon sun just beats down on that section, and vegetables that like full sun really enjoy that back bed, whereas the herbs seem to like the morning sun, so that's why I've got them in the front bed. Anyway, I dug down about 2 feet in each of the beds, pulled out any of the remaining, root roots from leftover plants, from last season. I made sure to check and remove any grubs that I found, kind of tilled the soil, rolled it over to make sure that, I had as much rich soil near the top as possible. I may end up still adding some fertilizer or manure or something into the soil before I plant the new plants. But the beds are now clean and ready to, plant whatever I decide to put in there. Um, and I also cut back. I've got English thyme and some rosemary that made it through the winter, amazingly so, and didn't just flat out die. So I trimmed back and cut off any of the dead parts, and left the stuff that seems to be making it through. Um, and so I also have a hydroponic aero garden where I've been growing herbs over the winter. And so once I'm 100% confident that uh, the temperature is going to stay where it's not going to kill what I've spent the winter growing, I'm going to transplant my dill, my parsley, my chives, um, my Thai basil, my regular basil, all of those herbs that I've grown inside, I'll transfer out to the raised garden beds. So uh, that's still to be done. And then I spend probably a good hour, hour and a half blowing off the leaf. So I don't have any trees on my yard. In fact, we're not allowed to plant trees, actual trees in our subdivision because it increases since I live in an over 55 community, it increases the cost of our landscape maintenance. So anyway, but I live at the end of a cul-de-sac, and my neighbor, who's not part of our subdivision, has plenty of trees. And so his trees drop their leaves in the winter and then they blow into my yard. So he's got cherry trees, he's got a bunch of oak and sweet gums and um, Bradford pears, things like that. So all of those leaves have been blowing in my yard. So I spent today kind of blowing off first my covered porch, then my courtyard area, then my breezeway, which separates what we call a casita from the main part of the house, and the casita is where I have my office. And for whatever reason, like that's the main corridor where all the leaves seem to accumulate. So blow that out, blew out the front porch, blew off the driveway as much as possible, blew all the leaves off of the lawn area, and tried to just make sure that I got them into a situation where they wouldn't blow back. So I don't know if that'll be successful or not, but it came out looking good, when I was done. We'll just see whether it stays that way. And then after doing that, I had indicated yesterday that I needed to run out and pick up a few more ingredients for making sumai. And so I went to a Korean or international grocery chain called Nam Damun, and picked up, some oyster sauce I needed, some of the wonton wrappers that I needed, and some dried shiitake mushrooms that I also needed. So got that. Then, as I also indicated yesterday, um, Publix is running a sale on porterhouse and T-bone steaks. I was able to get some T-bones at one Publix, but didn't have any porterhouse. So I went to a different Publix and found two nice looking porterhouse steaks. So I picked those up so I can put those in the freezer. So did that. Then I ran to Walmart um, and because I needed to get some distilled water and some household products. And so while I was there, I decided to pick up um, this Mando um, full body deodorant. So I've been seeing all kinds of ads for this thing, and it's based on using mandelic acid, which is a mild alpha hydroxy acid, to acidify your skin. And supposedly, by acidifying your skin, it neutralizes the bacteria that causes body odor, and basically it lasts like 72 hours, um, where you don't have to apply uh, kind of deodorant every day. Anyway, it does, and it also doesn't have aluminum. So, I've been using Old Spice for decades, and I like it. It works for me, whatever. But as I said, it has aluminum, and unfortunately, in my family, we have uh, a history of dementia, Alzheimer's, and more research is showing that aluminum consumption, or whether it's absorption through the skin or using aluminum to cook in, whatever, has an impact on dementia and Alzheimer's. So I was looking for a way to get an aluminum-free product to try. This thing costs like 3 times as much as regular deodorant, but it's supposed to last 3 times as long. So I thought, all right, I'm going to see whether it's marketing hype, a la BS, or if it really works. So I decided to go spend the money. I'm going to give it a try, see if it works. The scent is nice, so I like that. But anyway, we'll see what happens. And if it really does last 3 times as long, then basically it equates to the same rough amount of money. If it doesn't last 3 times as long, it's way more expensive than traditional deodorants. So we'll see what happens. And then after I got back from going to Walmart, my wife sent me our updated numbers, and I went into Bolden and I updated our retirement plan using all of the numbers, which, as I just indicated at the beginning, our portfolio is down versus the last update. But I wanted to see how that impacted, our um, Monte Carlo simulations. And while the numbers did drop as we projected out, it still showed uh, a high degree of success in either my average or my optimistic scenario. That said, in my pessimistic scenario, it dropped about 15 percentage points. So that wasn't a positive, but we'll see what happens. And I also need to think about whether I want to change my assumptions going forward on the inflation rate that I'm using for average, as well as for optimistic and pessimistic, or if the numbers that I've got in there I still feel comfortable with. And at the moment, I'm leaving it as is, but I may end up updating that as the year progresses if we don't actually see an ongoing decline um, in the inflation rate. Then I had been meaning to do this earlier, but I hadn't got around to it. So I've got my HVAC system is up in my attic. So I went up in the attic to check the filter, because we've got a whole house filter that you only change once a year, because it's like a 4-inch filter instead of the normal 1-inch ones. Anyway, I went up there, and when I changed them, I put the date that I changed them on there. So in this case, I changed it last February. I should have changed it this February, but I didn't. So I ran out to Lowe's, got the MERV 12 filter that I need for our system. I went and installed that. So the older one was, kind of grimy, dirty. So now I'm, happy that before the Atlanta pollen attack happens, which is, imminent, I wanted to make sure that we had new filters, new filter in the system, because I get bad allergies in the springtime. So I wanted to make sure we could filter out any of the issues that, at least would minimize my seasonal allergies. And so I'm good for another year, and we'll see how it goes. Anyway, that's my update for today. If you have any questions, any comments, put them in the comment section down below. Or if you want to send me an email, you can send it to myretirementramblings@gmail.com. Otherwise, I hope you have a great evening. I look forward to talking with you tomorrow. Take care.